Good morning, everyone. Praise be Jesus and Mary. We are Group 10 presenting the title Correlates of Mental Well-Being and Social Media Fatigue in an Online Learning Environment.
Introduction. During the past decade, online social networking has caused profound changes in the way people communicate and interact. It is unclear, however, whether some of these changes may affect certain normal aspects of human behavior and cause psychiatric disorder. Several studies suggest that the chronic use of social networking sites or SNS such as Facebook may be associated with the signs and symptoms of depression. Furthermore, some studies have pointed out that certain SNS activities may be associated with low self-esteem, especially in children and adolescents. Scholars have investigated different antecedents and consequences of social media fatigue. However, empirical relationship between mental health, well-being, and social media fatigue are currently not known. To bridge this gap, the current study utilizes the Stressor Strain Outcome Framework or SSO to examine mental well-being measures such as compulsive media use and fear of missing out, trigger fatigue, and whether social media fatigue results in anxiety and depression. Other studies have presented opposite results in terms of positive impact of social media networking on self-esteem. The relationship between SNS use and mental problem up to this day remains controversial, and research on this issue is faced with numerous challenges. This concise review focuses on the recent findings and regarding the suggested connection between SNS and mental health issues, such as depressive symptoms, changes in self-esteem, and internet addiction. This study proposes that social media fatigue and mental well-being are the behaviors of students in an online learning environment.
This study aims to determine the relationship between mental well-being and social media fatigue in an online learning environment. The following are the research objectives that will aid in this study's success. Determine the degree of mental well-being and social media fatigue among students in an online learning environment. Second, identify the strength of relationship between the mental well-being and social media fatigue of students in an online learning environment. Third, formulate a regression model explaining the association between mental health and social media fatigue. Students have been using online social media platforms as part of their new normal education for the past 2 years. Prior research indicates that students are experiencing social media fatigue, which has been defined as a condition in which social media users experience mental exhaustion as a result of numerous technological, informational, and communicative overloads as a result of their involvement and interaction on various online social media platforms. There is presently no correlation between mental health, mental well-being, and social media fatigue in an online learning environment, and research into this topic is extremely challenging. There are still no studies that determines that the correlation between mental health issues like depression, change in self-esteem, and internet addiction and social media fatigue in an online learning environment of students. This study aims to determine the relationship between mental health, mental well-being, and social media fatigue in an online learning environment.
Methodology. In the research design, the researchers used survey research. The research participants are those students who are taking online class around Misamis Oriental. In the data collection procedure, the researchers utilized a simple random sample. It is a type of probability sampling in which a researcher chooses a selection of participants at random from a population. The data then is collected from a large percentage of this random selection. The correlation analysis, which is used to summarize data as an input into a more advanced analysis, and a diagnostic for advanced analysis will be utilized as the statistical treatment.
This shows the pairwise scatter plot as shown. The variables school, grade, gender, age, MW, and SMF are being compared to one another to investigate if there is correlation between the variables. As we can see, the variables school, grade, gender, age, MW of, and SMF of indicates null or none and weak association. This summarizes up the data. As shown, the p-value is 0.3573 is more than the margin of error of 0.05. This indicates that the variable school, grade, gender, age, MW of, and SMF of has no significant relationship. Thus, this concludes that the null hypothesis there is no significant relationship between mental well-being and social media fatigue in the online learning environment of students is confirmed, and the alternative hypothesis there is a significant relationship between mental well-being and social media fatigue in an online learning environment of students is rejected.
Research would like to recommend to future researchers who would like a deeper understanding of the topic to consider possible changes in the variables. And the researchers would like to recommend that the study be continued and conducted for at least several consecutive years to help prove the research conclusions. To also broaden the scope and delimitation in order to collect as much data as possible, as well as to consider the respondents and try to be more approachable and flexible in order for the research to proceed smoothly.